background. I'm going to share my screen. If you just bear with me for 1 second. We're here today talking about growing your agency. Hopefully you can see my screen there. Somebody give me the thumbs up. Let me know you can see my screen. We're talking about growing your agency. Before we start, a little bit about me. My name is Janusz Stabik. I'm a coach to digital agencies across the globe. I've spoken for Forbes. I do a ton of work for Google as well. Google helped me to train Google Premier Partner agency owners on growth. There's a team of us. It's not just me. I'm the kind of the lead coach. There's 7 or 8 of us, and we help agencies with strategy, with planning, with finance, with client services, sales, with marketing, with exit. This is important because through all of the kind of programs that we've run, it gives us a really, really broad access to tons and tons of agencies. We have close, intimate relationships with agencies, small and large, and we have access to hundreds of agencies globally through the Google work that we do. So effectively, we've seen at first hand a ton of stuff that works, a ton of stuff that doesn't work, and we see some trends in those agencies that perform well, some stuff that we see them doing well, that those that don't perform so well is often missing. And we've worked with about 300 agencies. We have an intimate relationship with 25 agencies, and I currently sit on 8 boards, so super experienced. We kind of know what we're talking about. That's the background, that's the context. What are we going to be talking about today? I'm going to show you some of the common challenges that we face. Again, we see some of the same themes coming up over and over again. In fact, we see the same themes come up every single time. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about what the high performers do, and then some benchmarks. It's going to be a bit of a vomit. I'm going to chuck a load of information at you, record the session, do some screenshots, grab hold of what you can. At the end of the session, I'll share the slides with you. Hopefully some of it resonates. And then at the final slide, I'm going to say, look, if I was you and I was to do one thing, this is what I would do right now to help you to run a high-performing agency. High-performing agency is one of the top 4%. Those that grow, those that beat their forecasts, that go through all of those kind of inflection points, that don't get stuck, that don't plateau, that to the rest of us seem like it's super easy. You know, why can't we be like them? So that's what I classify as a high-performing agency. When we talk about growth, growth is really independent. Growth is hard. It's difficult to run a business. Typically, agency owners are specialists. We're good at PPC or SEO or video, building websites, design, something like that. We're not good at managing teams and people and understanding a P&L and leadership and marketing and finance and all that kind of stuff. So it's difficult. And anybody can grow a business when the going is good. But if you want to grow, we've got to be good at doing the stuff that we hate doing when the chips are down, when things are really, really difficult. Growth is contextual to what we're trying to achieve. Some of us are trying to exit. Some of us are trying to increase headcount. Some of us are trying to increase revenue or EBIT, or get more time back, or buy other agencies, or expand into other markets. So I'm talking about growth. I'm saying it's difficult. Growth is actually, different for many of us out there, many agencies, many agency owners out there. We're trying to achieve different things. But even then, regardless of what you're trying to achieve, those high performers do a lot of similar things. All right. And we're constantly battling. All right. We're battling against similar issues. We see this stuff over and over again. Roller coaster revenue, roller coaster profitability. Sometimes we make some money, sometimes we don't. We want to be profitable on purpose rather than by accident. Recruitment, the number one issue in the agency space right now is finding and retaining good talent. I haven't had a coaching call. I do 5 coaching calls a day. Haven't had a coaching call for 9 months where recruitment hasn't come up or been a thing. Sales, winning more better clients, being too involved as the agency owner, too attached, delegation, letting go, putting our trust in others, building a great senior team, seeing growth plateau, feeling like we're treading water and not getting anywhere, retaining good staff. We invest in people and we bring people on board and we show them this great agency culture, and then they leave and go traveling around Thailand for 2 months and work for one of our competitors. Retaining good clients, clients not leaving us because the grass is greener elsewhere. It's constant battle with growth through referral only. We don't want to win our business through referrals only. We want sales and marketing to work for us, but we keep getting these leads from people that we know. So how do we sell to other people? How do we manage specialists, developers, PPC execs, these people who are like in the UK Premier League footballers? They know their worth. How can we get them to perform and care about what they do? How do we manage difficult employees? What do we do? We've got too much revenue in one or two big clients. What about the growth of AI and infrastructure as a service and platform as a service? Should we invest in our business? Should we not? How much cash should we hold? How much utilization should we have? What's good? What's bad utilization? Should we do time tracking? Should we have contracts for our clients? How and when to exit? Who do we speak to? How do we sell? What are the systems and processes we need for scaling? Do we need a USP? Why doesn't the team think like me? Recruitment sales over and over again. So if any of this is resonating with you, you're not alone. We see this stuff over and over and over and over again. And if we go in as a consulting firm into an agency, typically the problems that agencies are facing are somewhere on this page. And we're trying to grow in spite of this, right? So the stuff I'm going to talk about today is what the high performing agencies have done to combat some of these really, really common issues. Right, what the high performing agencies do. So I'm going to start off with some themes. Here's some themes that we see, and then I'm going to give you some benchmarks afterwards. So the high performing agencies, what do? They have awesome leadership teams, really awesome, like where I'm in awe of all of them, where the MD of the agency is the dumbest person in the room. If you're running your agency and you've got a leadership team, and you feel like you are having to coach and mentor and a lot of the responsibilities on you, your leadership team is not good enough. If you walk into a leadership team meeting and you feel like you need to pull your socks up because everybody else is better than you, that's an awesome place to be. That's a leadership team that's going to grow a business. That's a leadership team that you can delegate through. If your leadership team doesn't feel like that, if they're not A players, you've got a slower, longer growth trajectory because you've got to kind of train them, and it's going to be a bit more difficult and risky. High performing agencies have awesome leadership teams. High performing agencies, really dull and boring. They have effective regular meetings. They don't do all of this agency catch up, stand-ups, scrum type meetings. I mean, they might, but they also have the weekly financing meeting, the weekly invoicing meeting for 20 minutes. They have a weekly meeting to review risks around statements of work. They have a board meeting or a state of the nation meeting for 20 minutes every month. Everybody attends. Everybody's always there. There's a chair of the meeting. They have a strategy review and planning meeting. They have a quarterly strategy review and planning meeting. They have a heartbeat within the agency. They run their agency like a business. This is stuff that businesses do. And agencies tend to think that we're not businesses. I'm an agency owner, ex-agency owner, and I thought that my agency was very different to a business. This dull, boring, businessy stuff, these meetings that are in the calendar at the same time every week, over and over again, that somebody chairs, that actions are followed up on. That's what the high-performing agencies do. It gives them the ability to make decisions quickly and contextually with the stuff that's happening, creates accountability within the teams, it creates a heartbeat within the agency. What do the high-performing agencies do? They're really comfortable with repetition and boredom, which is really hard for agency owners to do. We love new stuff. We love distraction. We love new services, new tools, new tech, new IP. We're really dull at figuring out what we're good at and doing it over and over and over again and having those meetings over and over and over and over and over again. The agencies that are high performing say no more often than they say yes to stuff. They lift the same weights over and over again. They're like an Olympic athlete. They go to the gym, they eat chicken and broccoli every single day. They do the same stuff over and over again. And through that repetition comes consistency and scale. A lot of high-performing agencies have two people at the helm, not one. Agency owners typically are visionaries. We have energy, ideas, we're good with partners, good with customers. We're not very good at execution and saying no and repetition. So they have an integrator to support them. You know, the MD, the operations director, somebody who manages the teams, does performance management, who works on delivery and efficiency and scaling and strategic implementation, and systems and processes, and who keeps that visionary in check and says that's an awesome idea, Mr. and Mrs. Visionary. But maybe we do that at the end of the quarter when we've actually finished what we said we were going to do. Agencies are great at getting stuff started. It's 80% the new marketing strategy that we never really follow through on. Integrators, 2 people at the helm, help to make an agency more high performing. They have a really simple business model. They have really clear positioning. You know, they have a really clear defined audience. Perhaps they're vertically niche or horizontally niche, or they just focus on a geography, but they have really clear positioning, really clear audience. Perhaps they're the agency, the e-commerce agency for the UK for electronics companies, or the agency for venture-backed scale-up businesses, but they're positioning super tight. And with that super tight positioning, they have a strategy and they have a plan that they go and execute. They have a really simple business model. They run 1 or 2 services. They don't run 7 or 8 services. You need at least probably 9 to 15 people per service, per skill set to be really effective. If you're a web development agency and you've got to do design, UX, front end, back end, QA, project management, account management, that's 9 different disciplines. If you're a web development agency and you're less than 30 people, managing web dev projects is probably really challenging unless you're super niche and you can scale and repeat the same type of website over and over again. High-performing agencies are really comfortable being an agency. Lots of agencies want to be a SaaS company. Time and time again, we take a new client and they say, we want to generate some repeatable, consistent, regular revenue by building a system that we're going to sell and make millions of pounds from. That's a different business. Yeah, of course, we all want to do that. But the MarTech landscape, I think there's, what's the number now? 8,000 total solutions as of April 2020. Total different business running a product-based business. It's a different system, a different marketing plan, different skills, different leadership. Really hard to do, and more fail than succeed. I can put you in touch with 20 agencies who've tried to build some IP technology and sell it, spent a lot of money on it, millions and millions of pounds on it, and have sold 2 licenses for a couple of £100, and then have written off that loss. And I can put you in touch with 0 agencies who have actually made it a success and made it onto this MarTech landscape. So if you're an agency, be really comfortable at it, say no to the software thing. Unless you want to build some IP to make your business more effective, that's cool, absolutely. But lose the aspirations of becoming a SaaS company and sell it, unless that's going to take your full attention and focus, because that's a difficult business to run as well. And agencies are hard enough already. High-performing agencies have systems thinking. For want of a better word, they think like McDonald's. They think about how can we produce this burger consistently over and over again at scale. Yeah, they think about how they can do something that if they need to do it again, they can repeat it and ensure the same level of quality. They don't reinvent the wheel over and over again. For you to scale, you need to be at first consistent. We can't scale unless we're consistent. If I walk into my kitchen, which is just over there, and I go to make a bake of bread, I go to make a loaf of bread, and I don't have a recipe and I make it up, it's going to be really hard for me to consistently get the same quality of bread out of the oven unless I have a recipe and a method for me to follow. And once I get consistent at making that bread, then I can then get better, and then I can bring in more bakers, stop making more bread. But I have to have that recipe and method defined for me first. Websites. It's just really hard to make money on websites at the moment. If you're a web development agency, you can be successful in 3 areas. Cookie cutter niche based websites, high volume, low margin websites for a super tight defined audience. Perhaps you produce brochure sites with no complex integrations for dentists or for surf schools or for doctors or for plastic surgeons or whatever, that you can churn out using a tool like Webflow or Duda. You can make money there. It's not a lot, you can have a scalable business. Or super enterprise. You're charging hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds a project, and you actually get paid for all the time that you spend on those projects. Or you're charging by the hour, you're selling sprints. The reality is most web development agencies sit in the squeezed middle, where we're talking tens of thousands of pounds or dollars for a website. Clients have aspirations up here. Your competitors are growing daily. You're competing against agencies that are 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 kids in their bedroom, knocking out websites. The value of those projects is getting lower. The expectations of our clients are getting harder. You're being squeezed by Duda and Webflow developers. You're in that squeezed middle and you're fought against trying to make money from websites for years and years and years. My honest advice is, and I don't help website agencies now unless they're going to go cookie cutter and niche, or unless they're going to go enterprise, or unless they're going to start selling hourly sprints. But this squeezed middle is just almost impossible to do at the moment. And not getting any better, not getting any easier. High-performing agencies have a customer-centric growth mindset. They do some marketing. Guess what? Agencies are really bad at doing their own marketing. High-performing agencies do some marketing. They do sales. They have a business development function. They upsell their services. They get on the phone to the client and they say, "Hey, we also do social. We think it could work really well with you. Can we have a call to discuss it?" They cross-sell services. They ask their clients for referrals. They run events. Getting in front of your clients, running a free seminar is a great way to make you look smart, and they can see how you work. It's a really, really good lead generation mechanism. They do spec work. I know we hate doing designs and spec work for pitches, but guess what? The other 4 agencies that are pitching against are probably doing it. So either beat them, don't pitch for the work, or join them and do spec work. Because if you're going to invest in that pitch, your competitors are doing it, you're going to be at a loss if you don't do it. So just don't pitch for it, or suck it up and do it. High-performing agencies have customer development plans. They're strategic about the type of work that they're doing with their clients, and they try to get their clients to spend more with them year on year. They're fast to respond to our customers' requests. They speak to their clients on the phone. Digital agencies in particular like to hide behind emails and Slack and those types of systems. Get on the phone and nurture those relationships. They meet clients for lunch. They do all that dull, boring stuff. They ultimately make their clients feel awesome. Over and over again. They don't just do this thing once and say, "Hey, it didn't work." They do this thing regularly, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. That repetition brings growth. High-performing agencies essentially don't charge by the hour. Tons of different pricing models out there: fixed price, value-based, performance-based, retainer, or MRR, monthly recurring revenue, percentage of media spend, whatever. Just don't charge by the hour. To grow an agency, if you charge by the hour, you need to sell more hours, which means more employees, which means that you can't scale unless you recruit somebody. And if you become better, if you do a job in 10 hours and you become better at it, and it takes you 5 hours, so you've invested the time to now do it in 5, you've lost that investment. You're not seeing a return in your investment and getting better. So any other pricing model other than charging by the hour, unless you're doing web development at a push and you're selling sprints. But any other service, just move away from the hourly pricing model. High-performing agencies are profit focused, even if it doesn't mean a lot of agencies don't like talking about profit. They love building the community and working with certain customers, or within a certain industry, or certain type of employee, or working for a greater cause with charities or NGOs, or whatever your thing is. It's okay to be profit focused. Your business needs to generate profit to pay people a market rate salary, to invest back into the agency, to go and get more better clients, to increase the talent density within your agency. High-performing agencies are profit focused. It's okay, and you need to do it. High-performing agencies know the numbers. They know the gross margin, they know utilization, they know EBIT or EBITDA, they know how much net profit they're making, they know their effective hourly rate, they have KPIs. Really, really dull, boring stuff. Got to get your head around this kind of stuff. You've got to measure it monthly at least, so you can make decisions on what to do next. High-performing agencies have more leading than lagging KPIs. We go into an agency, we say you need some KPIs, and they start talking about net profit and leads and sales. Well, that's great to measure, and we need to measure it, but it's all stuff that looks backwards. Net profit is a consequence of what we did prior to it. The number of leads that we get is a consequence of our marketing activity. The number of sales that we've closed is a consequence of our sales process. So we need to measure this stuff. High-performing agencies have leading KPIs. They measure input. They measure If we want to track sales, how do we generate sales? We make some calls. Great, we have KPIs for calls that we made, or events that we attended, or upsells that we proposed. If we don't measure the input, we forget to do it. We stop doing it. And actually, we don't know what it was that contributed to our lagging output. High-performing agencies measure lagging indicators, but measure leading input-based indicators too. High-performing agencies have account managers. There is a trend. Small agencies say we don't have account managers who speak to the specialists. Large high-performing account manager says we have account managers who are here to retain, who are here to nurture you and be your kind of advocate within the agency, because it works. If you want to grow, you've got to retain accounts. Lots of agencies have churn. We lose 20-30% of our clients year on year, which means we need to sell more clients just to fill the gap, so we never grow. But if we invest in account managers and we go from 30% churn to 15% churn because we're making clients feel great and we have an advocate for them, that's 15% less we don't have to sell. And actually our account managers are brilliant salesmen. So upselling, cross-selling, asking for referrals, they then become a revenue generator as well. High-performing agencies have account managers. We work with an M&A firm over in the States, and the first thing they do if an agency is working towards exit, the biggest bang for the buck that the M&A firm will get on the sell side, if the agency hasn't got account managers, they say, right, go get some client services people in, increases your value really, really quickly. High-performing agencies say no more than they say yes. I've been through this already. Know what you're good at and just say no to a load of stuff. And finally, leadership team again. I cannot underplay the importance. All the stuff I've just spoken about, KPIs, marketing, customer services, all that kind of stuff. You know what? If you have an awesome leadership team and they all know their part and they're working as a unit and they hold each other to account, they make big steps forward in these other areas. So what would I do? What's the most important thing? Just go and get a leadership team where you feel inadequate, where you don't feel as good as everybody else in the room. Benchmarks. Here's what some high-performing agencies look like from a benchmark perspective. They have a core capital target. So ultimately, they have between 2 to 4 months worth of cash in the bank. They have no debt. They pay everybody market rate salaries, including the business owner, and they're doing an EBIT, profit, earnings before interest and tax, greater than 17%. If you're doing that, you're a really good business, and you can then decide whether to pay yourself a big dividend or invest back in the business. If any of this isn't true, you're at risk, you're running a risky business. Make all this stuff true first, build up some capital in the bank, and then either pay it to yourself or invest back into the business. Benchmark contribution margins. So contribution margin is effectively how much it's like gross margin per service. How much revenue do you get in for your PPC? How much do you pay out to deliver it, say in salaries or contractor fees? And then what's left over is your contribution margin. We're looking for ideally 60%. You can get 60, 62, 65%. That is awesome. You're going to be doing 25% net profit at the end of the day. A lot of web development agencies, you'll look at your revenue from your websites that you're bringing in, you put the cost of all of your specialists to deliver that website, and you might be doing 15, 20%. That's not enough to then cover the overheads and to leave profit at the end of the day. So look at the fee that you're bringing in, not media spend, but look at the fee that you're bringing in for a service, any cost to deliver that service, and that is salaries as well, or percentage of salaries if you're still involved, or contractor fees. What you've got left, you're looking for 60% to be in a really, really healthy position, or anywhere over 50% is super healthy. Utilization, which is the amount of available hours that you have available to be billed, you've actually invoiced to the clients. So if I'm a one-person or one-man band and I work 10 hours a month and my hourly rate is £100 an hour and I sell 10 hours at £100 an hour, that is 100% utilization. If I only actually invoice 5 hours at £100 an hour and invoice £500, that's 50% utilization. Okay, so you look at across your specialist team, how many hours do you have available? How many of you actually build at your target hourly rate? Look at the percentage. If you're doing north of 66%, between 66 and 72, That's great. That's incredible. Anyway, north of 72%, and it becomes really stressful, a really stressful place to work. 50 to 66 is pretty average. Less than 50, you've got some work to do. And again, web development agencies, you're probably going to sit in that kind of region, and that's why effectively it's so hard to make money. Hourly rates, and this is, I've got UK, these are UK based, but if you're based in the US, I'd convert it to dollars and then add on 20 to 30%. You guys charge more for your services, or the high performing agencies charge more in the States than we do in the UK. Somewhere between 90 to 120 pounds per hour is what the high performing agencies are charging. Over 120, awesome. So I think in dollars, we're looking at, it needs to be 150, north of 150 if possible, north of $130 per hour is a really, really great place to be. 70 to 90 is quite common. Closer to the 90 mark is doable. You can make some, get some good growth there. Less than 90, 80, 70, and it becomes really, really tight. Team, what do the high performing agencies have? They have roughly a 70-30 split of fee earners to non-fee earners. So if you're purely a paid media agency, you have 70 paid media specialists. If you have 100 people, 70 paid media specialists, then you have 30, you have an FD, a marketing manager, the managing director, an accountant, bookkeeper, a traffic manager, people who support the function of those specialists. So roughly a 70-30 split between those whose time you sell and those who are dedicated to just running the business. You have dedicated client services or account management function, and a finance director. If you're above 20 people, 20, 25 people, you're starting to really, really need an FD. Below that, you need really, really good part-time FD support. But one of the best investments you can make, I think, is to have some really, really tight financial control. EBIT, earning before interest and tax. Anything above 15%, you're doing great. That's gone up actually over COVID, during the COVID period, because agencies have become better at making profit. We've figured out that we can get more from what we currently have. So actually, I would say you need to be doing north of 18% to be considered good. The reality is some of my clients are doing 44%, 35%, and that's almost a license to print money. But anywhere north of 18% and you're profitable on purpose, anywhere less than 18%, you've got some work to do. And then when you get to sort of the 10, 15% work, it's kind of becoming profitable by accident, and we can make some improvements there. Niche agencies are growing the fastest. If you have a niche, if you're the agency for accountants, you know where to do your marketing, you know how much to spend on your marketing, you know what services you need to offer, you know who you need to recruit. Everything becomes really, really easy. You can put a budget together that means something. Imagine doing a budget that isn't out of date tomorrow. Niche agencies, you're able to plan and forecast what the future looks like. General agencies, integrated agencies to no particular audience that rely really heavily on project-based one-off revenue. It's really, really difficult. It's largely based on who you recruit in the senior team and a bit of luck along the way. So niche agencies are growing fastest, and they're able to charge more for their services because they have a domain expertise. Right. If I were you, I would. And I don't know you because I can't see any names. So I'm presuming that there's some agencies on the call that are having some challenges. So I'm going to make some very broad brush recommendations, and I have a question from Alex that I'll go into in a moment. If I were you, I would. And if I was an agency that's experiencing those challenges that I mentioned at the start of the call, I would have systems and process for everything. Think McDonald's, think like a franchise. If you were to open an office just down the road, how could you guarantee that you could produce the same product or service over and over again? Systemize everything. I'm a one-person business with some associate consultants, and I have 3 virtual assistants who run my business for me, and I just turn up to coaching calls. They do everything for me, and I've increased my billing by about 60% over 18 months purely through that. So systems and processes. Put your prices up. Time and time again, agencies are too cheap. If you're not charging at least £90 an hour in the UK or $120 per hour, $130 in the US, you're too cheap. It's really difficult for you to make the money to enable you to reinvest back in the business to grow. So put your prices up. You're competing against people who are expensive, so why don't you be expensive too? Have a strategy, have a single page business strategy plan, and have effective meetings. Work out your gross margin. If you're running 3 services, PPC, SEO, and social, and you're doing 60% gross margin on PPC, 50% margin on social, and 30% or 20% on SEO, and you can't fix it quickly, just stop doing it. You know, you're sacrificing the growth of your business for this service that you're fighting to make fit. And I'm not saying that social SEO is the least profitable service. I'm just saying fix your underperformers quickly or drop them and focus on the stuff that you're good at. Drop unprofitable clients, segment your clients, put them in the spreadsheet, look how much they pay you, figure out whether they're profitable or not. If they're not profitable, put their prices up to £90 an hour or more. Guess what? If you've got 10 unprofitable clients, five will leave you. Awesome, you were losing money on them anyway. 5 will say yes to the price rise increase. Brilliant. The time you were spending on the 5 that you've now lost, you can now reinvest back into your super profitable clients to again catalyze that growth. Make your top 20% of your clients feel like kings and queens. Pareto is so true. 80% of your revenue probably comes from 20% of your clients. Just make them feel loved. They're going to generate the referrals. They're going to spend more with you. Get them, cross-sell to them, upsell to them, ask for referrals, treat them like kings and queens. Go niche, have a super niche position, and do tons of marketing to that niche, and fix or sack your underperformers. You do that, that's 100% money back guarantee. You come back to me in a year's time when you've done all that stuff, and if it hasn't worked, I'll give you the money back that you paid for this for this webinar. But if I was to do only one thing, and one thing only, my recommendation was just to go niche. Everything else I've spoken about becomes clearer. Your marketing becomes clearer. Who your senior leaders should be becomes clearer. How much you should spend on your marketing becomes clearer. You get more leads, you win more leads. Your client pays more for those leads. You can have you can predict your cash flow. You can predict your sales pipeline. Everything else becomes easier. If I was to do one thing, I would go niche and go niche only. And finally, a question from Alex. Could you please tell more about the retainer MRR pricing model, depending on what it's better to go for or fix or any other type of pricing? MRR is getting your clients to pay you a fee on a monthly basis. Depending on the service, you would charge that fee in different ways. So if you're a media agency, you might base your monthly retainer on percentage of spend. So somewhere between 8 to 12%, ideally 12% is a good level for percentage of spend based pricing. I've known agencies to go to 20% of spend. Building contracts as well. If you were looking to exit your agency and you have no contracts in place, I've got no guarantee that when I buy your agency that your revenue is going to stick around, right? Building contracts, get everybody on retainers up to 60, 70, 80%. I now buy your agency and I've now got a guarantee that those clients aren't going to go anywhere for a few months' time. I've got a few months to kind of win them over. So yeah, contracts and retainers, they're easy to service, they're easy to plan capacity for. It's kind of guaranteed money. It's a mix. Selling your business easier. It's easy to forecast stuff. It's easy to plan stuff. So MRR all the way. I think that's it. That's it today. Any questions? Please put your questions into the chat window if you have any. I'll leave this open for a minute or so. We have a Q&A actually. There's a Q&A system I've just seen. So you can either put your questions in the chat window or use the Q&A button. How do you start systematizing your services? What's step 1, please? Firstly, it's really easy if you're niche, right? If you're McDonald's, you make burgers and fillet of fish. Yeah, you can then be consistent at making it once, figure out how to make it, and you become better and more repeatable at doing it. If you are a marketing agency with no defined audience, it's actually quite hard, because how you deliver your PPC service for an accountant is very different to how you deliver your PPC service for a travel company, which is both lead gen, very different to how you deliver your PPC service for your retail or e-commerce clients. All right. So first and foremost, go niche, single audience, and actually systemizing stuff becomes really, really easy. If you're generic audience, generic agency, and you're McDonald's and somebody comes in and says, hey, can we have a pizza? You've got to figure out how to make the pizza. So the more niche you go, the easier it is to systemize your stuff. Other than that, there's a book I would recommend, being conscious of time, called Systemology. System and then ology on the end. It's the system for creating the system. Yeah, so I think in the time we have available, that's probably the most valuable answer I can give. Follow the Systemology methodology. It tells you how to figure out where your processes and systems should come from, who should own them, who should define them, what level of documentation to go through, whether to use video or written documentation, how to ensure they're followed, how to create accountability from it, how to report on it, and all that kind of stuff. And it's not this big verbose beast. It's lightweight, usable, insightful stuff. What is the most profitable niche for agencies in 2021? What niche will be the most profitable in 2022? I don't know if it's a niche. I mean, profitability across niches really, really vary, right? Accountants don't spend a lot. They're good with numbers. If you're an agency for accountants, you're spending hundreds of pounds. You can deliver the same services for orthodontists or plastic surgeons, and they'll have the same service and they'll spend thousands of dollars. So niche profitability per niche varies. Where we've obviously seen a lot of growth is e-commerce, right? Over the past 18 months, people have been restricted from going anywhere or going on holiday, doing anything other than buying stuff online. So where the biggest growth has been in e-commerce, absolutely. In terms of, what's the most profitable niche? I don't know. There are hundreds. What's important is that you actually, here's a bit of advice. Look at where you have a sweet spot of clients that you enjoy working with, right? I love working with agencies, so it doesn't feel like work. It means that when I do marketing or I work with my clients, it doesn't feel like a job. I don't get stressed. So I do more work. I work in the evenings and I work at weekends, and it doesn't make me feel bad. So that creates growth. And then look at what's the market size, what's the market opportunity? How many digital agencies are there within a certain geography? All right, so there are tens of thousands in the UK, hundreds of thousands in the US. Great. How many competitors do you have within that market? I have 4 or 5 competitors within the UK. So therefore, what's my addressable market size? How much of that market am I able to win, and how much are those clients able to pay for that service? So that's the approach I would take. Where are you good? What do you enjoy? How many of those companies are there? How many competitors do you have? Find that sweet spot. It's no good saying, hey, I'm going to work with dairy farmers in the southwest of England, and I see there's only 5 of them and there are 6 agencies servicing that market and they don't pay enough. So there's a bit of an equation to do between market size, your competitors. If you can look out into the market and say, hey, there's less than 5, less than 10 agencies whose positioning specifically targets this niche, that's an awesome place to be. Huge market with less than 10 agencies, that's a really high win ratio for you. Any more questions? Any more questions from anybody? If not, right. Huge thanks to Promo Republic. Please do check out their stuff. Look at the Agency Academy. They run roundtables. There's another roundtable coming up in November. User acquisition for digital agencies, how to find new clients. A huge thank you for them. They've got resources. They run roundtables. They've got webinars. All super important stuff that can help you with growth. If you want to get in touch with us, some of the results, our clients win awards. They've bought businesses, they've merged with businesses, they've sold businesses, they grow their revenue. The stuff, what we do works. And finally, if you would like access to the slides, I can do this, copy this. If you would like access to the slides, please I don't know if that's gone into the chat window. Please complete that Google form. It's 4 questions. Did you enjoy it, or what worked, what didn't? And then when you click submit, you'll get an email which will send the copy of the slides to you, which includes all of the benchmarks and all of that kind of lovely stuff. So perhaps we can distribute that to the attendees after the call as well. But I think other than that, if nobody has any other questions, thank you for attending today. And will you get the recording? Alex is going to jump in now and help me out and say either yes or no. Yes, there we go. You will get the recording. Thank you, Alex. Other than that, thank you for joining, everybody. Complete the Google form, you get a copy of the slides. Enjoy the rest of your day.